Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Awakening Her podcast. How are you doing, my friend? How are you? Are you hydrated? Are you sleeping well? How's the body? How's the mind? Has everything been going okay? And have you been taking any moments for you? Any moments of space, any moments of pleasure to recalibrate, or just to take a second to slow down? I really hope you are trying to do that and bring that into your life. I have been practicing this myself recently, where I'll take tiny little pockets where I just pause and I sink into my body and I take a deep breath and I slow down, even just for a minute. And sometimes I notice it'll be like the house is quiet for just a second and I sit in it and I go, ah. Or I'm driving and before I put on music or anything else, I just, or sometimes even, I come in from the grocery store into my car and I just sit there for a second before I put the car in drive, before I go into my next, segment of my day. So I hope that you are as well, just taking little moments to pause. So I am back from my cruise. It was an incredible experience. I have 3 kids. We were with my husband, of course, and my husband's parents and his sister and her partner. And it was just a lot of fun, really good people, really good vibes. The kids had such a cool experience. It was a Disney cruise, so it was like high stimulation, but high magic, like fairy dust on everything, like how Disney does. So there were theaters on the ship and we saw like Broadway style shows and there were so many cool things that we did on the boat, restaurants and really good high quality food. It was so good. We also were in Alaska, so we went to 3 different ports and Alaska is just gorgeous. It reminds me actually so much of home. The lush forest, the eagles, the orca whales, the bears, the ferns, it is a rainforest. So is Vancouver Island, where I live, is technically a rainforest. And it reminded me a lot of home, just a lot of dense wilderness. And it was so beautiful, so cool to see. So I am back. I am safe. I survived. Not sure if cruising is for me, but that being said, it was a magical experience and there was a lot of fun, a lot of memories. So anyway, let's get into today's episode. Today, I am really wanting to talk about the stretch before the leap. And this is a sacred space. And I talk about this stuff often, or different ways of approaching how sometimes there's a breakdown before a breakthrough, or sometimes we take a pause before we leap forward, right? Sometimes we need to let go before we, allow in. And it's the same type of energy, but I want to talk about this sacred space where we have this total moment of stretch before we leap. And sometimes it can be tender, sometimes it can be unknown, sometimes it can take every single ounce of bravery and self-regulation tools that you possibly have just to get through. But it is an in-between moment when we've said yes to our next level in our mind, in our soul, in our energy, but we haven't yet arrived there. And we tend to, as a collective, especially in self-development and spirituality, we tend to look at a leap as a moment of thrill, of joy, of expansion, like, oh, it was such a big leap and now I'm here and everything's good. And yes, that is a half truth. That is part of it for sure. It can be amazing. And of course, that place we leap into is going to feel really good and expansive, but we often forget what it takes to get there. And so it's not my style to talk about struggle and hardship and like it has to be hard, but it's also not my style to just bypass like everything's always great, because in the middle is a stretch, and built into every leap is a stretch. Even if you think of someone wants to pivot careers, it might be a stretch to like learn a new field or go back to school. Maybe you're in a relationship that doesn't feel good. It can feel like a personal, emotional, and heart stretch to either end something or be on your own for a bit or trust in love again. Like there's always a component of stretching, because if you weren't stretching, you'd be staying where you were, right? So this moment, this season, this time of stretch it can feel like that, like pressure, like tension, like you're being squeezed, or it might just be a time where we need to recalibrate. We're going to talk into all of this because not talk into it. We're going to talk about all of this because recalibration and integration as you're stretching is really everything. So we're going to talk about how the stretch doesn't always feel good and it can feel a bit confusing or just scary. And a lot of times when something gets too scary, we go like, never mind, I didn't really want to do it anyways, back to my old ways, right? Which is normal as well. But we are here to quantum leap. We are here to move ourselves forward in our life. And it's not just about the high flying part. It's about the pulling back before you launch. It's about the discomfort in the unfolding. It's about the stretching into something new, because that's what you are doing. You are stretching into something new. So let's call it what it is. Let's talk about it. I'm going to share my experience, my clients, of course, what wants to come through my channel, because the stretch is not separate from the leap. It is a part of it. So with that, let's dive into today's episode. Before we do, I want to quickly mention that on the day that this episode is being released, the doors to my retreat are flinging open. We are open to the public. The doors have opened. I'm so excited about the retreat happening September 2025, September 19th to 22nd over here in my neck of the woods, just off Vancouver Island. And it is going to be such a magical experience. And behind the scenes, we've already sold almost half the spaces. So it's going fast. Today we open to the public. So I encourage you to look at the options, to check it out, to see if this is for you, because my friend, this is going to be a transformative experience. There's everything from your own massage to a sacred evening, sunset ceremony every evening, morning meditations, workshops, a nature walk, community, healing circles. It is going to be 3 days that truly deepen and activate you. And I'm so excited. Plus, we get to hang out in person. It's going to be so fun to give you guys a hug. The spaces are extremely limited, so I'm not going to go on and on here. I will probably create a whole mini episode about it, but for now, I just want to let you know the doors have opened. We are in the early bird phase. Check the link below to see if this is for you, to join us, to come to Vancouver Island, come experience this beautiful place I call home, and let's really sink into the earth. This space is between the forest and the sea, right on the ocean. You are going to feel the healing power of the Pacific Northwest, and I can't wait to do it with you. There are so many surprises. There are so many fun things to come, and I just can't wait to hug you in person. All right. So with this, let's get on to the episode, how the stretch is not separate from the leap. It is part of it. So grab a sip of your water, grab a sip of your tea, and let's dive into this episode. Okay, so from a soul perspective, this is where we're going to start. From a soul perspective, the stretch is a sacred recalibration. Your energy is realigning. Your system is adjusting. Your old identity is being gently, and sometimes not so gently, dismantled. This is the place spiritually as a soul where we evolve from one segment to the next. As you go on your growth, because whether you realize it or not, most of you do, you are an old soul, or you just wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be interested in this type of material, content, topics. This wouldn't be the stuff that activates you. So the fact that it is means you're an old soul. And And as a soul, you are also growing the way that as a human, you are growing. So when we go through this growth as a human, our soul is also recalibrating. We are remembering more of ourselves, is the way that my team really shows me, is like the awakening process is us remembering more of who we are, meaning realizing, remembering more of our soul, remembering more of our essence, our divine power beyond just the human and the shell and the identity. We are remembering the totality of who we are. So on a soul level, your soul also has to recalibrate. So if you think of as a human, if you were to, take on a new health sort of program that you created where every day you're going for walks and, you're having this much water, at the very beginning, there's a little bit of this like, okay, I got to do it. And like, you're trying to do it. You have to almost stretch yourself like, okay, 6 a.m. again, let's do this. Okay. But pretty soon it becomes the norm. If you stick with it, pretty soon it becomes normal. And where you were once stretching into is now your normal. That is the same on a soul level. You have these moments of remembering more of who you are. We have these pockets of awakening. You have a breakthrough, or you're working with a teacher, a spiritual teacher that activates you, or maybe you do something like a plant medicine ceremony, or you go through a season of healing. All of a sudden, you're remembering more. You're more expanded, if that makes sense. And so as a soul, as your identity changes, as your awareness changes, your consciousness changes, your soul also starts to recalibrate. So we are multi-layered beings, which I don't really need to say to you guys because but multi-layers, like the soul, the human, the actual body, the nervous system, our emotions, our aura, our frequency, and then of course, everything we've been through in previous lives, everything we've been through as a soul. There's so many things so many layers that go into who you truly are, which is the part of this, you may be able to hear, I have a giant smile. The part of this whole experience I love so much. And I love working with people and being with people in that, because even if we never figure it all out, you don't need to remember every single past life or know consciously of what everything you've been through. But either way, like whether you know that stuff or not, you have been through all of these different layers. And, I feel like I want to just be real. I don't think we can actually remember everything we've possibly been through since the beginning of our soul when we're in this life experience with this brain right now. The brain is very good at the human journey, but even through hypnosis and all this, I don't know if we could possibly remember actually like every single thing you've been through, every single lifetime, every single star system you've visited. Like I don't think that's even in our highest good. We grow and we just evolve. And so anyway, back to the soul evolving. So when we ask for a big leap, we say things like, I'm ready for abundance. I'm ready for love. I'm ready to commit to my health. I'm looking at things differently. I'm ready to heal this. I'm ready to rise, right? So as we say that, we also invite in a stretch. And that stretch helps us hold the new thing that we are calling in. I don't know why I'm getting this visual of like a stretch. Like imagine someone's arm stretched out like in front of you, and that's getting you ready to hold what is coming. I've got my arms out and everything like anyone can see me. But anyway, it helps me describe it. So that stretch is you getting ready to hold this new reality. And after you've said, I'm ready for abundance, I'm ready for health, I'm ready to welcome in love, in that pocket right after, that is your stretch. And sometimes nothing can feel like it's happening. Sometimes completely unexpected triggers in the exact wrong way, like you're wanting to call in money and a huge unexpected, expense comes, or you're wanting to call in love and someone you're getting to know turns out to like, it doesn't work out. And sometimes that can happen too. There's other reasons for that. Maybe we'll get into in this episode, maybe not, but we can have unexpected triggers. We can have things that start falling away, and that this does not mean it's not working. It actually means it is working. It's the stretch. It's the invitation to start to hold that frequency before it is even physically here. So back to a little bit more of the human part, I want to kind of use some real life examples. A stretch can be, say, this has happened with myself and entrepreneur clients where they put something out, or they raise their prices, or they try something new, or they have new boundaries or something, and then crickets. Nothing seems to come in. This is the stretch. This is in some ways the assignment or the test, but really it's the stretch to allow your energy to catch up with your clarity. So I, being a reflector, I witness other people and learn so much just simply by witnessing and then sort of reflecting or absorbing the wisdom that I see. So in my husband, he's a professional musician, and he, started out, well, he didn't start out music when he was a teenager, but when he was a teenager and when he was in his 20s, he was accepting like a $50 gig, and he'd be in a loud pub and no one's paying attention, and he would, not have as strong of boundaries. With myself, when I first started my business, my rates were like ridiculously low for the hours I was giving, and I was like overcompensating, and we kind of don't have that worthiness yet. So I would notice with my husband, whenever he'd go through a growth phase and be like, you know what, I don't really want to accept these types of gigs anymore. Like, this doesn't feel good. Like, I'm a professional, I'm a musician. I don't want to be under the Keno board, like he would be in pubs where he was under the hockey game. So as he's playing, or for you Americans, it could be the football game. You can imagine that. But he would be playing, and all of a sudden people are like, yeah, but it's not even for his music. And he started going like, no, like, this is a boundary. I don't want to play in these environments. So the test would be someone would offer him a gig like that, right? Or if he was accepting a gig, he'd say, you know what, my rate is now this. And they go, we can find someone to do it for less, sorry. And he'd lose a job over it or something like that. That's a test. That's a stretch. Can you hold this new boundary? Can you hold what you are now worth? Because if you have a business, whether it's a store or, services or whatever you do, there are times when people of all kinds at all times can say, oh, I can't actually afford that. So we need to hold that worthiness. If you've set the prices, or you're, wanting a certain rate for what you're worth or whatever, and people go like, oh, I can't afford that. That's an invitation to hold. That's an invitation that you're in the stretch. Can you hold that? And I found that no matter what I've charged, there's always been people that reach out and then go, oh, it's a little bit steep, I can't afford that right now. And other people are like, okay, sent you the money, thank you, talk to you Monday. And I'm like, whoa, it's not really about that. It's not about your rates. It's really about you holding that energy. So if you're stretching in boundaries of the way you allow people to treat you, or the family dynamics, and you're really wanting a leap into your own sovereignty, you don't want to be involved in the drama, they're still going to call on you. Your aunt, your sister, your mom, your whoever is still going to place you in the middle, and it's up to you to continue to hold that boundary. That in a way is a stretch. Or often when we are going after a goal, I've experienced this with putting out this retreat. It has scared me at a deep level for so long because I didn't feel worthy, and I didn't feel this, and it was all my wounds and all this stuff. So this time I've made a point where I've been doing this now for a few months, actively like booking it, planning it, making it happen. I keep taking one move, and then I get scared, and I regulate, and I use my tools, and I chill, and I go for a walk, and I take a day off because I really am learning myself. And then as soon as I like get my self back, my capital S center self back, I make another big move, and then I kind of freak out and I go, oh my God, is this really happening? And then I take a moment. That's a stretch as well. When we have to like push our bravery and then go, oh my goodness, because I've made this happen. I've made the plans happen. I've paid the deposit. I've booked the meals. I've made it happen. And it's through an incredible amount of stretches. Like, I've almost never experienced something that stretches me in this way. Like excited bravery, the feeling of like, holy shit, I'm doing the thing. And that's also a stretch. So as you can see, and in self-development, sometimes we're stretched in all different ways. It can feel like it's not so positive because it's about healing and dynamics and relationships, or it can feel positive, like you quit your job and move somewhere, and it's a huge stretch. This is the point where we learn to sink into the new identity. And something I always say to myself, it's not very polished because it's just the way I talk to myself, but I always say like, this is the hard part. Like, there are times when we go like, oh, I know that quitting my job and moving, it's going to be hard sometimes. Or I know being a parent, it's going to be hard sometimes. Or I know if I leave this relationship, being alone is going to be hard sometimes. But when we're in it, we have to remember this is just the hard time. You know what I mean? It's not wrong. It's not bad. It's not that you're off track. It's just the hard time. Shit's hard. Pardon me if there's children in the room, but it's hard. Sometimes life is hard. Quitting one job and going for another, asking for the promotion, doing a big audition, going out on a date, planning a big retreat or something you've never done before, it can be scary. So this is where we commit to the new identity. This is where we let our energy catch up with our clarity, with what we want. This is where we commit and stay in that a little bit of a sacred pause, but while knowing it's a stretch. And we commit to this new bold us, the regulated us, the magnetic us, the inspired us, or maybe sometimes the soft us. Maybe it's the assertive us, whatever you're moving into. This is where we practice committing. And then life will throw you a test. Life will throw you a stretch. You're stabilizing. It's part of it. So yes, say yes to the dream. But when the old habits start to feel louder, when your doubts spike, when your body feels tight, this is the stretch. You're detoxing the old while anchoring into the new, and it can be scary. I see all these people, and you see all these people on social media, and actors and actresses, and you're watching biographies of people that have done incredible things, activists, like real big people that have done big things. And not a lot of people talk about how terrifying it must have been along the way. And love him or hate him, someone like Elon Musk has been on the verge of bankruptcy many, many, many times. Tony Robbins started with nothing, hustling. Wayne Dyer wrote books that like nobody bought, and he was, taking his book around to all different radio stations back in the day, driving around the country with like 400 books in his car, going to radio stations, dropping them off. Like these things are a stretch. People that stood up for change, it was a stretch. It was terrifying. Some people put their life on the line for change, right? Every startup, every business, everyone that went through a master's or a PhD or became a lawyer, like I am sure there are times when it was so like stretching to them. So just remember that if you're in that stretch, if you're scared, it's just because you're doing big things. It's part of the stretch, and this is the hard part. And that's okay. That's why you anchor in. That's what On the Path is all about, my community, the private podcast, because it's all tools and education and nuggets and inspiration to use your tools. Go press play on a meditation. Try the breath work. Anchor into your body. This is the stretch. This is where you learn to recalibrate, but like, what's the word? It's like, I want to say equilibrium, like find your new equilibrium, I feel like is what I'm trying to say. This is the time to do that. So I want you to think of, because you guys know I'm a sucker for a good metaphor, I want you to think of a deep muscle stretch, like you're stretching your body. So imagine in yoga, or imagine a forward fold, like you're sitting on the floor and you're reaching for your toes. How about that? You reach a point of resistance where it starts to feel tight. And a lot of times with stretching, and I know they teach this in yoga, say you were doing a forward fold, you stretch as far as you can until there's like the slightest bit of discomfort. You pull back like an inch, and you sit there and you breathe. So imagine reaching the point of resistance, and instead of pushing harder, you just breathe. And anyone who has stretched starts to feel sometimes even a little shaky. And then you breathe, you stay in it, and all of a sudden, it softens. And all of a sudden, your body can reach a little bit more forward. You know what I'm talking about, right? That moment where the body suddenly loosens. I think of that with, I don't know what the pose is called, but when you're sitting on the floor with one leg bent and one leg out, and you're stretching kind of like in your inner thighs and your hips and stuff. Hips are like that, where it just feels so tight, and you soften, you stay in it, you breathe, and suddenly your whole body loosens. Your hips start to let go another layer, and then you hit another wall. It lets go another layer, but then you have that same discomfort again. And you breathe, and all of a sudden your body lets go and you go deeper into more space. But if you were to aggressively shove your body into what we would, you're trying to stretch, you'll injure yourself. If you don't just breathe and stay in that pocket to allow your body to soften, you will injure yourself. That's how you tear a muscle. You stretch it, or, it's such an aggressive movement that it didn't, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. You didn't adapt, that you ripped it, right? So this is how spiritual expansion works. This is how personal growth expansion works. You stretch into a higher vibration. You stretch into a new identity. You stretch into a new habit. And at first it feels far. At first it feels shaky. At first it feels painful and tight. But then it's something you're reaching for. So you breathe into it. You stay the course. If you breathe, if you stay, if you integrate this new vibration, this new point of stretch becomes the normal. And all of a sudden, everything softens. And in my experience, you almost avalanche into that next level. Imagine the stretch. You're up against that wall, you breathe, and then all of a sudden it's almost like your body like falls into the next level, kind of goes into it itself. And life will rush up to support you. So in the retreat, I've taken a stretch, and then I made a really great connection at the retreat center. And then I did a stretch and I went there and I saw a lot of things that I loved. And then pretty soon I'm signing contracts. And then pretty soon things are just working out. And then when I started releasing it to the pre-sale, to the wait list, people started taking me up on it. People started booking. And it was like I had to stretch more than I have in business before. Into my healing, into my big girl pants, into my CEO pants, into the highest self, to know that this is what I'm meant to do. I've had to stretch you guys so far to be brave, to not be scared, to not let all my wounds run the bus. Run the bus, drive the bus. But I stretched, and then I took a moment and I recalibrated and I breathed and I kind of fell into it. Now all of a sudden I've got the retreat venue booked. And then now all of a sudden I've got, a beautiful, perfect healing soul to do the massages. And then all of a sudden I've got, people to help in the process. And then all of a sudden I have people joining, and it's like I fall into it. This is the same with everything else. So think of the stretch as a stretch. And the only way to make progress in a stretch is to stay in it, to breathe, to soften, and wait for that. Wait for your body to loosen. Wait for the resistance to melt away. So the stretch isn't something that you just get through. It's something you honor. And this is the same with the sacred pause and the breakdown and all the stuff that comes up as you're going through your journey. It's not something to just get through. It's something to honor. A lot of people bow out in the stretch. This is too hard, because it does. It presses you right up against your wounds, the healing work. It's like, how committed are you? Are you willing to give to yourself? To honor your desires, to honor your highest path? Are you willing to love yourself that much? It will be a stretch. So a lot of people bow out in the stretch. Never mind, this was too hard, right? And they mistake the tension for misalignment. If this was right, it would be easy. If this was right, it would just click. If this was right, it would just happen for me. They start to doubt their decisions. They start to doubt, is this even for me? Is this even possible? Wait a minute, is this even possible? Have I been a fool thinking this is possible? Is this really for me? Because what if I'm just trying to force it and it's not really for me because it's not really happening, right? And then we abandon our power. We start to second guess and probably maybe even back right out of it. And that's what I did for the last 6 years with the retreat. But I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to hold that kind of space. I wasn't ready to believe in myself and us as a community that this would be an incredible awakening, transformative experience. So when you are ready, this is what you do. You stay in the stretch. You use it as a time that you honor. You're practicing this new level. So in the stretch, you're not being punished, you're being prepared. You're building the strength to hold what you've been praying for, what you've been asking for, what you've been working for your whole life. You're becoming the version of you who holds this next chapter with ease, who is it. And becoming requires you to stretch past your old edges. So I want you to ask yourself, where in my life am I stretching? And where in my life have I been scared of the stretch? Am I judging the stretch or am I trusting it? What can I make discomfort mean? That's what the one I really want you to think about. Growth doesn't always feel like a mountaintop moment. It's not always a selfie doing warrior on top of a mountain in it with a smoothie bowl. I don't know. I don't know what that is, but sometimes it feels like a pause. Sometimes growth feels like a pause. Sometimes it feels like a tension. Sometimes it feels like a stretch. And if you stay in the stretch, if you don't run back to the small self, to what is safe, to shrink to lower self-worth or shrink to what's familiar, something beautiful always happens. You don't just leap forward, you fall into your next level. And this fall is somehow with grace, in divine timing. It just starts to happen. Because you stretched, because you softened. Your dreams became a reality because you made them happen. And then you got to experience the surrender into, the softening, the lessening of the resistance. But if you want to learn to do the splits or want to stretch your body to that extent, you have to show up and do those stretches each day. But by simply doing those stretches and just staying there, you will get the reward of that goal. Anyone could learn to open up their hips to that level, or, with most people anyways. But if you did it, if you stayed in it, you then would become that flexible, or you would release that tension in your legs. So you will experience the fruits of your labor. You will experience the reward. But don't forget that you also have to be the one to walk yourself there through the stretch, to be brave, to keep going, to integrate, to use your tools, to make a big, bold move and then regulate everything that comes up. And then make another bold move and then regulate everything that comes up. This is how we evolve. One brave stretch at a time. Okay, I am so proud of you. You are big time stretching into your next level. Just like the snake shedding its skin or the body deepening into one of those postures, the transformation doesn't happen all at once. It happens breath by breath, moment by moment, stretch by stretch, and you're in it. And I'm so proud of you. And if you want help in this process and you want to come to the in-person retreat, which will be such a beautiful section and chapter in your evolution, it will be transformative. It will be one of those things that truly helped you in your spiritual awakening journey, your healing journey. And again, we get to hang out in person and it's going to be so fun. So check the link below. There's also lots of other fun things there for you guys. And I will see you in the next episode. So proud of you. See you soon. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I genuinely hope that it served you. If you feel like you're in the give and back mood, I would be so honored if you left a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to the podcast. It really does help so much. And if you're looking for books to integrate into your life, to create daily practices, to keep you on your path of self-growth and awakening, you should check out my Amazon store. I've got a few daily practice style books that you can choose from, including Manifest This Shit, which is a coloring and activity book for manifestation. We've got the brand new one called Both Sides, which is a daily practice. And we've also got the bedtime ritual. So you can check out the link for that as well as other things in the show notes below. And I will see you in the next episode.